So I've been with SSI for 20 plus years now. We've been building equipment since 1980. First machine we put in was 30 years ago, still operating up in China. We've been custom engineering a lot of equipment. Mostly, we're in the shredder business, but we have been building a lot of compactors over the years also. Safety is pretty much number one on the list, and we'll just be going through it. So obviously the danger areas are inside a hopper, meaning if you're on the tipping floor, you definitely would want to stay away from that area. Inside the chamber, inside the carriage section, inside the motor starter panel, which is the main panel at the hydraulic power unit located. So it's got 480 volts in it, so you definitely don't want to get in there. So before entering this area, you're able to enter those areas like the inside the chamber, the carriage section, so you obviously have to clean it. So at some point you have to get inside, but you do have to follow a lockout, tagout procedure. And there's a specific way that you can cover that, the lockout, tagout procedure. So there are two main breakers on the panel. As you can see, they're on the left. So both of them would have to be turned off, down. So right now, that's an off position. So down would be your on. Off position is your off. So each person should have their own locks on them. So like if you are done, there's another person that's still working on the machine. So that's for that reason, each person has to have a lock, their own lock on the machine at the time of servicing, cleaning, whatever. So that's a lockout, tagout procedure. There's also, you want to verify that there's no mechanical pressure, and although the system is designed to relieve pressure automatically, so as long as you have HPU off, main key switch off, and obviously locked out, tagged out, at that point, usually as soon as you turn off the main key switch, your pressure is released automatically. We do encourage to do a manual release also, but that would be at your manager's discretion. But the system is designed to automatically dump pressure. For any reason, if there is a load in there in the chamber and it's stuck, right? So you want to take some precautions on maybe waiting for some time for the waste, allow it to relax, right? Because a lot of times when it's compressed, it's trying to relax itself and it may still have pressure. It could literally generate pressure on the platen and it could move the platen. So just allow for some time before you actually trying to enter and do whatever clean out, trying to unjam the load. You definitely want to give it some time for that bale to relax so it does not have any pressure in the system. So there are pinch danger areas, and that's basically the gate area and the truck latch. Obviously there are other pinched areas, but it's mostly on the inside of the chamber that's going on, but on the outside gate area, again, in the truck latch for sure. So just to kind of stay away from those areas when the machine is operating. So we have color coding of equipment parts. So orange, yellow. So we have two colors, yellow and orange. All moving components are coated with orange paint. All the safety there's 2 doors, there's a couple of screens on the side. So those are all safety access areas that they're all yellow. So safety systems on the machine is your e-stops. So you have 4 e-stops on the chamber, so 2 on each side. So there's 2 against the wall and 2 on the outside of between the chamber and your control panel. So there are 2 e-stops. Then you have 2 safety switches, and those will also shut down the HPU, obviously. So when you open the safety doors to get inside, that's pretty much the e-stop also. So lockout, tagout, let me just kind of go through that again real quick. So first we have electrical energy, then we also have, so it's possible sources of energy. Electrical energy, most of our control systems, they're 24 volt, so it won't kill you or anything like that if you're inside the control panel. Just the main thing to stay away is from that main panel at the HPU. But all of our systems are, again, 24 volt, designed to eliminate, issues that could possibly, strike an operator or a person. So we take a lot of precautions on our end to make it as safe as possible. So main power, obviously, if there are any issues with the compactor while you're operating, it's always best to get, obviously, your maintenance, qualified electrician to do any work on the equipment. So again, hydraulic energy, you got thermal energy. This is more for maintenance, because obviously guys are not going to work on the equipment, but just beware of the hoses, some of the hard piping. If you touch the surface of the pipe, it could be hot to touch, so just beware of that. So those are some of the areas where you would relieve hydraulic pressure. Is you would push pin the solenoids, and there are 2 on the side of the machine and then 2 on the back of the machine. Just so that you guys are aware of those 2 areas. So that's on the side of the machine, very similar to what the bowl lake machine is. So there are some here below, but usually if you relieve pressure on the sides, it will cover pretty much the whole system. Because a lot of those, most of those connections are very common. So they use the same pressure line and a return line. So if you relieve the pressure from one of the logic blocks, it will relieve the whole system pressure. So a lot of the safety stickers, and the reason why I would want to tell this to you guys is because you guys are the people that are going to be interacting with the machine. So you got to let your maintenance personnel know that if any of those tags, safety stickers are damaged, so they could be replaced. And there are multiple locations of the safety stickers throughout the machine. So, so theory operations, names of different components of the machines, I'm not even going to go through that. You guys are fully aware of, the control panel. You got clear, compact, system auto button, right? So you guys pretty much know how the machine runs. The only thing that's different about this is the Bowl Lake, I believe, does have the master control reset button. Let's see here if I can get to it. So this Bolake machine has this button right here. So that's the same, okay, yeah. So this one does have the same similar, basically same thing. So you have key switch on, and then you got to do an MCR reset, and then you continue to starting the machine. So auto mode versus manual, density. You guys are also aware of that, right? So there's an auto mode, mostly. That's how you run the machine. Just all you have to do is really feed the machine, continue feeding, and it will build bales on its own automatically. It will give you a load ready status when it's complete, and that's the auto mode is also dependent upon what you give the machine as far as your parameters, right? So you have to enter your target weight, target length, and then also compaction strokes, whether it's 3 or 2 or 1. And based on that information, the machine will know what to do, on when it's building a bale.
Are you just going to preload the machine with all those parameters, what we do to it and then change?
So right now we did a test on Friday, and it's pretty much set up to, I believe, 51,000 pounds target.
50,000, 2 compacts.
Yep.
25 each.
Yep.
Does that machine get away with just 2 compacts all the time? Or do we recommend 3?
So what you want to do is you really want to, so like on the weekends where you have this bulky residential, so you may sometimes have to do 3. Friday it was 2 compacts, and it looked like it did just fine with 2. During the week when you have commercial, so definitely 2 is enough, for sure. But as far as on the weekends, you may want to play around with that. And I'm not sure how your management is about letting you guys change the parameters, but really, anybody can do it.
Yeah, we just do it. We don't ask them.
Yeah.
So when you're doing multiple compacts, is that more stress on the machine?
It's designed, actually it's designed to do up to 7 compacts. So 2 is really, it's idling at 2,
Like that.
So Bolake and Shoreline,
3.
they all set at least 3 compacts.
Yeah.
So
I would definitely keep this one at 2. Bolake and Shoreline, they're a little more at age right now, so maybe it requires, because the hydraulics wear out, they do become weaker over time, right? So I would stay 2 compacts here, and then just adjust accordingly. If you feel like it needs 3 compacts, change it to 3. The other thing is the shear mode. Right now, the shear mode is off. Again, that's at your discretion when you want to change that. On the weekends, I talked to some of the operators Friday, and they're saying, so on the weekends, you may want to have the shear mode on, just because there's a lot of bulky material. So what shear mode does is that when you do a clear, well, the system automatically does a clear. Without the shear, it stops 1 foot in front of the knife. When you have shear enabled, it goes past the knife every time. So what that allows for the machine, when it does compact finally, it does not have to shear through all of this material that's been piling up in front of the knife now. So it's easier for the machine to compact when you're pushing the waste past the knife every single time. So if it's a dense material like commercial, then it does not have to work as hard. So maybe have a policy, right? You turn on the shear mode on the weekend, you turn it off during the week. Or just whatever the waste stream is like. You guys know it better than I do. So it's at your discretion completely on how you want to take that approach.
is there anything wrong with leaving it on all the time?
It's just how hard the machines work. Yeah.
If you leave it on all the time versus,
So if you leave it on all the time, the cons are you basically, your knives will wear out very quickly. So there's a knife on the chamber, and then there's a knife on the platen. So anytime they interact, they cross each other, it has to cut, especially on the clear. So compact, because it only happens 2 times, it will basically shear 2 times. But if, as far as the shear mode interacts with clear. So whenever you have a clear, if the shear mode is enabled, it's going to go past the knife every time. So again, it's really comes down to wear and tear. Your knives will definitely become dull real quick if it has to shear all the time. But it's designed to shear, so it will do that. It's just there's negatives to that. So it's up to you guys.
when they break that.
Yeah, we'll share when it's crappy garbage and no share when it's good.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very simple. But if you guys follow that and do change it back and forth, definitely save you guys a lot of trouble. Because here's another thing is that anytime it shears, the potential for jamming increases. So that's another issue. It's not a huge issue, but there is a potential for it to jam. If it's trying to shear, there's something unshearable, uncuttable. The platen has enough force to actually drag that material in, especially if the machine is not properly adjusted. Your shear gap widens. And then at that point, it will definitely drag stuff in. So. Let's see here, what we got here. So control panel, buttons and screens overview. So I'm not going to go through that. The screens are exactly the same as what the other machines are. All of the buttons are exactly the same. So maybe a little bit different. So this at Bow Lake is what you have. This is an older picture. There are also operating the compactor. There are definitely 2 ways you can run the machine. There's a manual mode where you could use the radio control if you like, because this machine does have a radio that allows you to operate the machine from the loader using the radio. Clear stroke, compact stroke, retract, load ready. Again, talking to some of the operators on Friday, you guys just like to run it in auto. So, and that's what we recommend. So just.
It's nice to have the option of notification.
Yeah, yep. So, at this time, the radio controller is located at the control panel. There is a charging station with 2 spare batteries. We recommend charging those every other day. Depends on how much you use it. So that's how the radio controller looks. So you have a clear, retract shut, compact stroke, load ready, and a system auto button. So that button will allow you to put it back in auto. And you can take over any time. So if you feel like you need to retract it for some reason, if there's some sticking out, you know it's not going to shear, you can retract it, you're done, you can put it back to auto, and it will continue building the load in auto mode. I think it's a good thing to have this in your loader. Again, it's up to you guys. I don't know how often you end up using it, whether you need to interact with the machine at all while you're loading the machine. Some customers or operators, they have it at their loader all the time just in case. Some customers don't even use them at all.
Yeah, we do ours in the loader.
Yeah, so it'd be a good idea to just leave it there just in case. And again, you can control the machine with the radio completely. You can put it back in auto. You can stop it at any point and does not require an operator down below to switch it back to auto. So this is how the new controls look. So we got rid of the joystick, so this one has push buttons. We found that a lot of
Now, actually, how long have you Slava got rid of the joystick? Is this fairly recent, or?
fairly recently, yeah. So we've put 4 machines in now with this style.
Is there a benefit to it, or?
Well, the joysticks, they tend to bend them,
Yeah.
and I don't know, it's just, exactly, it doesn't really require that much pressure, but every site I go to, it's always it's,
Yeah, roll legs and bend.
there's also a safety factor. So we found that operators will use a bungee cord to activate it, and then they get distracted with their phones, whatever. Yeah, and once you do that, the machine, it doesn't know what's inside the container, right? So it doesn't know what's going on. So if there's something sticking out while you're pushing the bale out, and something it literally will damage the trailer if you're not paying attention. And so, for that reason, we went over to buttons, because you can.
Is there a backup? Let's say the contact points on that push button get corroded or something. Is there a safety switch or a second option?
No,
That's it.
that's it. Yeah.
The remote?
The problem is, though, with the joystick, there is a high, where the high failure rate was a lot higher with the joystick than a push button.
You can put a push button in there too.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
If push buttons aren't working, they just bring one down.
Yeah, if you're in the pinch, anything, because basically it's a normally open contact, literally. So in the pinch, you could put in any yeah. But so historically, I know there isn't a lot of history to it, but with 4 machines so far, I've never had a failure. Joysticks, you'd see one fail almost like 4 or 5 months later. It would fail. So
when you're pushing the push button here, is it a one-time push, release, and it keeps on going?
it's a momentarily, so you have to hold it.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's a joystick, but with your finger.
Yeah.
So again, MCR, don't forget the MCR. You have the key switch on, you also have to do the MCR. If you don't do the MCR, the machine will not start, obviously. So those are some of the HMI screens, your HPU screen. You have 2 ways of starting the HPU. You can obviously use the control panel buttons, the physical buttons, or you can use the start HPU on the touch screen. So the stop HPU button on the side also reflects the auto stop button, which is also red on the panel, control panel itself. So 2 buttons on the control panel, and those 2 buttons here are exactly the same. So if for any reason your HMI screen fails, you can still use the machine by using the start button and stop button, the physical buttons. So some of the inputs, that's more for maintenance, troubleshooting. So the last 64 screen, if you guys, if you miss out a load, you didn't write it down, there's a last 64 screen which keeps all of your loads.
Last load, like
Yep.
together, last load.
Yep.
Okay, what's the capability of the machine weight-wise? 66,000, 60,000, 59, 54?
So you, 37-foot bale is what you can build. So 60,000, probably would be the max. I mean, 57, so we have a customer in Australia, they can continuously do 57,000 pounds, continuously, every load. They're maximizing their loads. It's a waste by rail system, so they really have no issues with weight. There's no restrictions of it, so they pack it to the max. So this one does have, just like any other machine, there's a weekly, daily checklist. So I would encourage you guys that you do that. You do a physical walk around the machine, you check for leaks, anything that's not normal. And right now is actually a good time to learn your machine as it's new, right? So you want to listen for how it sounds, and then once, if something does happen, you'll know right away that this is not normal. So right now is a good time to learn your machine, so that way you can, be aware of anything that happens later. So this is the only page really, or the screen, where you would have to change parameters. So you have your weight acceptance. I usually like to keep it about 3% because sometimes there could be a conflict on how it compacts and when. So like especially on the final compact, there's so you have this count right here, compact 1, compact 2, 3, 4. So there's also weight, and there's a weight acceptance for each compact stroke, and then there's a weight acceptance for your total weight. So, and sometimes they will get in conflict with each other, and it could, at the end, it may do 2 compacts in a row. So I usually like to keep this, like I said, the weight acceptance 3%. So that way they don't get in conflict, and you have, let's say if you have 51,000 and compact number 2 is going to be at 49 something, right? So, and like I said, at the end, even on Friday, I noticed that it did 2 compacts, exactly.
Like, well, this machine over here, the old one, same thing. You get real close to the weight, you push it, and the weight of it falling in the hopper gets to that weight. But then I realize it's not actually that weight, so it does it again. We get that all the time, which is time consuming.
So, but
it's cool that we can adjust that here, so we can avoid that, right?
Yep, exactly. Yep.
That'd be cool.
So I would keep that about 3%. Hopper target weight, that's up to you totally, guys. Again, on the weekends it may change. During the week, garbage is more dense, so maybe 3,000, maybe 4,000 on the weekends. I think right now it's at 15 or 2,500, I believe. So your target weight, and then your target length and compacts per bale. So keep in mind, this is a single bale machine. It's not a 2 bale, it's a single bale. So it's 4,500 or bigger machines. So there's one more thing here, scale deviation. And this, you may never have to deal with this. This one is more for a scale issue. So like, let's say if for some odd reason the scale weight doesn't match your scale house, you can fine-tune the scale by adjusting the deviation.
Now, can you click change the length of your clear stroke? So I noticed that was at 9. All the others were like 9.3.
So it's a little bit off as far as, not off, but the laser location, it might be in a slightly different position than your other station. So the numbers may not exactly match as far as the plot location. So now the density mode, having it off versus having it on. I would recommend probably keep this on position all the time. The only benefit of having this off is, again, on the weekends. That way it goes to full compaction stroke. every time with density mode off. If the density mode is on, then it uses your weight calculations on how far it actually going to compact to give you a more dense throughout bale. So it's not like going to be really heavy on the front and light on the back. But again, if it's on the weekend, then probably having the density mode off is best. Shear enable, again, that's up to you guys. On the weekends, you may want to have it on. Weekdays, turn it off. So that's your e-stop, emergency e-stop screen.
The old machine had them all over up here, down there. You see all that? Was it the 250 or both of them have them here, guys? So they're just all downstairs now, right? E-stops?
The e-stops are all downstairs.
Yeah,
There's not.
We had the other outfit set up. We had some on the wall up here. There were some downstairs. They're all over the place, so it's kind of confusing. So that's good.
So on this one, everything is contained within the unit. There's no e-stops on the tip and floor. Some customers require them, so we would integrate them, but not in this case. We did not get that requirement, so it's only within what's near the machine. So again, you have.
And there's one on the radio too, right?
Yes, the radio. Yep. So 2 e-stops against the wall, 2 e-stops by the walk-through area, and then you have 1 e-stop at the master or a motor starter panel, and then 1 at the control panel. So 6 in total. And of course, those access doors, safety switches, they act just like an e-stop. So if you have the door open slightly, or if the bracket gets damaged, obviously you will not be able to operate until that has been taken care of, whether the door is closed or you have to replace the switch, whatever, if it's damaged. So this is our Hardy scale screen, so you guys may have to deal with this sometimes. So what this allows you to do is reset your scales for any reason. If there, a lot of times, over time, on the top of the machine, you'll have accumulated waste, and then you decide to clean it at one point, so you're basically going to be in the negative, maybe 500, 600 pounds. Then you would have to do a tear and a calibration. So both of those functions has to be done. So you do a tear first, and then you do a calibration. You don't have to do this regularly, like every week or every month, but at least if you clean the machine on the top, hopefully it's not going to accumulate much garbage at all. Usually if there is some garbage, it should be just behind the gate. Like it extrudes it out, pushes it out, and so maybe at that point after you do that cleanup, but usually you would never have to do this. So to get to this screen, you have to go HPU and then maintenance screen, and then you'll see a selection here for Hardy screen. Again, interacting with this touch screen, if you just go between each screen, obviously not going to hurt anything. You're not going to accidentally punch in something that could affect the machine. So you're welcome to go and play with the screen so you get familiar with them. Because some guys, they're just one screen is the main screen they like to interact with. But know your system, right? You got to be able to know it, and again, play with it. It's not going to hurt anything. You'll definitely know your machine and be more comfortable with using it. So not a lot of times, but sometimes if you do a cleanup, you could accidentally bounce one of the handles here. Those are your suction valve handle that closes the suction valve. You could easily bounce it, and it will give you a fault that it's closed, and when in reality it's really not. but it doesn't take much for it to bounce, and you could, okay, what did just happen? So just kind of be mindful of that when you clean your HPU area, that you
So
could.
if it faults out, will there be a specific fault number for that specific situation?
So there are 3 suction valves, only 1 signal. So it will, just the general, it will say suction valve fault.
Check all 3.
So you would have to check all 3 of them, yeah. So pre-starting inspection, so again, you want to do your normal walk around, just, check your fluid levels, check for oil leaks, hard lines, soft lines. Definitely want to, make sure you notice things. If something happens, let's, fix it before you actually start using the equipment. So again, you got the daily inspection, and it's all on the touch screen. It does not have to particularly fill out a form, but just acknowledge whatever you did on the daily inspection list on the on the touch screen is all you have to do. So starting the compactor, obviously you want to do key switch on, MCR reset, and then you can either use the push buttons on the control panel or the touch buttons on the screen. So loading the compactor, I think we briefly already covered that. We definitely don't want to have anything that's over 7 feet thrown in there because it could damage, at first it could damage your gate, especially if you have something that's really long and you put it in at first, and yet once it goes out and does a compact, it's going to knock, it will push it through the gate. If it's something sharp, a pipe, it would literally push it through the gate. If it's not sharp, it could, deform your gate. Try to minimize anything that's over 7 feet. If you can't, then try to set it aside and push it in after your first compact. So that way you have a softer kind of a pillow in front of it. So if anything, it goes right through that waste, right, and it's not going to hurt your compactor.
Well, a lot of times, actually, if we have really long items or heavier, we just literally take them down below, physically put them in the trailer, without putting them in the machine. So.
Yeah.
Or railroad ties.
Well, so there's a list of things that you don't want to put in there, and one of them are railroad ties, barricade, or what do you call them?
Rebar?
No, those big barricade blocks that you actually have them right now in front.
Blocks.
Ecology blocks. So we've had customers push those ecology blocks in the machine. So rebar, the regular home water tank heaters. If you're gonna put one in there, make sure it goes all the way on the bottom, because once you start shearing that, it will compress and it will literally go and it will jam your machine, and it will take a long time to unjam it. So, but in general, everything else you can put in there. But just stay away from some of those bigger stuff and the stuff that actually could be compressed, and it becomes a very tight material that it could just, the platen will pull it in and it will jam it. One more thing comes to mind: shingles, roof shingles. So you definitely want to mix that with waste. You definitely don't want to put just a batch of it at one time.
You're talking the tar 3-tab shingles, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because
We usually have, we mix everything.
That does make a good weight though. Right, my weight right there, just that.
Yeah, but if it's, like I said, if it sticks past the shear point and it tries to shear, yeah, it's definitely not good. And in general, yeah, you definitely want to mix your waste. I think it will help out the machine. It doesn't have to work as hard because if you have a lot of dry waste, just ejecting this bale, the machine just like it violently shakes if it's a really dry waste. So again, if you mix it with some of the wet garbage, it's definitely better. So ejection procedure, it's the same as with all of your other transfer stations. You have a load-ready status light upstairs, and at the control panel, you want to do a latch up first, and then you raise your gate. Your platen will automatically retract a foot, and you would then eject the bale. And you usually try to pack it 4 times is your magic number, 4 times. Otherwise, you'll have a mess. And you guys are probably aware of that. So, but the magic number is always pack it 4 times. So troubleshooting measures. If for any reason there's some going on with the machine, let me show you. There's one more thing I want to show you real quick. Let's see. So Bolake machines have this. So they have the little keypad drives on the, or controls on the main panel at the HPU. So those are controls for controlling your drives, but they will also display any fault information. If the drive faults out, on the HMI you'll get a generic fault like VFD fault. But then to get an actual reading, you would have to go down to the motor starter panel and see what the actual fault is. Okay, so basically, to gather information, if you do get a VFD fault, you have to go back to the motor starter panel, take a picture, and then collect as much information as you can, and then send it over to me. So basically, in my work description is in the office, I do service / technical support. So if anytime you guys are calling me, you'll be basically talking to me. So, and it's very important that you collect as much information as you can. You know, pictures usually would help out best. Again, get an accurate description of what's going on. If the platen comes out and it suddenly stops, you know, kind of like create a story, what's actually going on, and then call me, and then I'll be able to help you guys out really fast if I know exactly what's going on. There's also a troubleshooting guide at the end of the OEM manual. You can look through that, but most of the time customers just call me directly. I'd encourage that you guys read the manual, read the troubleshooting section. You'd know probably better to what happens, what you need to do exactly if something does happen. So at the end of the day, the shutting down procedure, usually what you want to do is take it all the way back home and do a shut mode. And then at the end, so after shut mode is complete, you simply just turn off the key switch. And that would be a shutdown at the end of the day. So, and then again, before the next day starts, you want to do a walk around, look for things that are, not normal, leaks, whatever that you can find, and make sure you report it right away. So that's pretty much it. I'm not sure if you guys, I'm pretty sure maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you do have questions. If you do have questions, let me know.
So like when we separate the machine to clean, is there gonna be like a handwritten procedure, like taped to the door, or just all on the head, or is there, separated for cleaning?
So that would be, again, that would be up to your management. So a lot of our customers have their own procedures. The only thing that we have on our end is that if you do separate the platen, it will sound if it's in unsafe zone, so to say. So there's a unsafe zone where you do not want to separate the platen. Usually you want to have platen and the carriage all the way back home, where that's the safe area where you could safely separate it and remove waste, anything that's blocking the laser. So that's basically the safe zone is all the way back home. But if you try to separate it where it's unsafe, it will actually make a sound. But again, that would be up to your management on, if they would want to create a procedure. We basically kind of allow that for them to handle. My recommendation is always try to take it back to home position.
Like I think shoreline, we get a lot of overtime people that come to our stations, don't run these machines that often. And the one at shoreline has step-by-step procedure how to actually separate it properly for cleaning safely. So I guess you just show us the way to do it down there, just memorize it and do it that way.
Yeah.
Or I guess one of us could write it down, right? Put it on there. Yeah.
I would strongly encourage that you guys do have a procedure so it's consistent, everybody follows it. Because if everybody has their own way, it could be messy. It could be messy. So.
Yeah, well, it's just something we'll have to recommend to Joseph or whoever.
Step-by-step procedure right there on the door.
Just like they did with the other ones, they put it lock out, take out.
Yeah.
So I do have a little video that kind of explains on how you should properly load the machine. Let's see here. It's just really short. It's an animation more than anything. So basically, it actually reflects what you guys have here. You do have an area where there's a 24-inch drop, right? So then you have, this is the platen face, of course. And then on this side, you have your chamber knife, right? So, and then again, you have another one on the platen. So what we want to minimize is that whenever you push in, it stays below.
We call it don't load the lid.
Don't load the lid.
Yes.
We call it don't load the lid.
So that's a clear function. As you can see that it doesn't go all the way, simply moves the waste forward. So that's a compaction stroke.
That's good garbage.
It's all uniform and clean and
Same color. Perfect.
So again, I found this animation video, it illustrates really good. It's like you just keep everything below the shear point. And I know it's not always possible, but if you keep that in mind, you'll definitely try to, do the same. Just keep it below the knife.
That's just safe, makes it cleaner, safer, easier, no jamming, just, yeah. We've always been taught that, and sometimes it's hard to do. A lot of people don't. Some people try, some,
And I'm not sure how, how busy this transfer station is, but a lot of, stations have you gotta, have 5 or 8 or 40 trailers per day. So just keep in mind that every time it has to shear, it slows down the machine because there are 2 speeds. So the hydraulic power unit has 4 pump sections, and it all dictates on how fast it can travel by pressure. So if it has to shear every time, it will drop off 2 high speed sections, so it will tremendously slow down if it has to shear. So if it has, if it has no way or no restriction when it goes out, it's a simple, fast, clear stroke. Same thing with the compaction strokes. So just be aware of that. It definitely runs smoother, runs faster when it does not have to shear. So again, I am done. We went through every, I guess, important sections of safety, loading procedures, functions, whatever. And then if you guys have more questions, let me know. But otherwise, we can do our next part of the training, which is going outside and doing a hands-on training.